Alhamdulillah, Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. As-salatu was-salamu ala Rasulil Ameen wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Ittaqullah ibadallah amma ba'd. A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. Rabbi shrah li sadri wa yassir li amri wahlul uqdatam min lisani yafqahu qawli. Amin. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Okay, my dear children, we are joining again for another session of our story time. And we started this session around 2 years back. We finished prophet stories, we've done parables from the Quran, and now we are looking at specific things from the Quran. Okay, today, let's see what we are going to study about, okay? I'm going to share my screen with you, inshallah. All right. You can see my screen, isn't it? Okay, what is the picture you see on the screen now?
And
Okay. Today we're going to look at the story of ants. Okay? ഉറുമ്പിനെ എല്ലാരും കണ്ടിട്ടില്ലേ? കണ്ടിട്ടില്ലേ? നമ്മുടെ ഖുറാനില് ഒരു സൂറ ഉണ്ട്. ആ സൂറയുടെ പേര് സൂറത്തു നംൽ എന്നാണ്. അതായത് ആൻസ് എന്നാണ്. നംൽ എന്ന് പറഞ്ഞാൽ ആന്റ് ആണ്. ഓക്കെ? ഇറ്റ് ഇസ് the 27th സൂറ ഓഫ് ദ ഹോളി ഖുറാൻ. അപ്പൊ അതില് നമ്മൾ പണ്ട് പ്രോഫിറ്റ് സ്റ്റോറീസ് ചെയ്തപ്പോൾ നമ്മൾ പഠിച്ചിട്ടുണ്ട്. We have learned. What did we learn? One prophet was given a miracle, and that is he could understand the language of birds and insects. Which was that prophet? ഏത് പ്രോഫറ്റിനാണ് he could understand the language of birds and insects? ഓർമ്മയുണ്ടോ? അല്ലാഹ് അല്ല. അല്ലാഹ് ഒരു പ്രോഫറ്റിന് ഒരു ബ്ലെസ്സിംഗ് കൊടുത്തു. And that prophet could understand the language of birds and ants. Look at the screen and find out the answer.
Prophet Sulaiman.
Yeah, Prophet Sulaiman alayhi salam. Prophet Sulaiman alayhi salam was the son of Prophet Dawood alayhi salam. Okay? Prophet Sulaiman alayhi salam could understand the language of birds and ants. Okay? And he says, "O people, we have been taught the language of birds and we have been given everything we need." Okay? So Prophet Sulaiman was blessed by Allah with many miracles. He could use the winds to travel very fast. Okay? And he could also understand the language of birds and insects, among a lot of other miracles that Allah gave Prophet Sulaiman. Okay, you can just, let me see if I can disable that annotation thing. Otherwise, it will be disturbing for you all.
Ma'am, animals are?
Animals name, I'm not quite sure about that, because in the Quran we are learning about birds and insects. We know that he was talking with the birds, and we know he could understand the language of ants. So I prefer to believe that he could understand the language of birds and insects. Okay? So that is what it is given in this ayat. ഇതൊരു ആയത്താണ്, സൂറത്ത് നംലിലെ ആയത്താണ്. അപ്പൊ അതിൽ പറയുന്നുണ്ട് Solomon's forces of jinn, humans and birds were rallied for him perfectly organized. അതായത് സുലൈമാൻ അലൈഹിസ്സലാം രാവിലെ ആകുമ്പോൾ എല്ലാവരുടെയും ഇങ്ങനെ അറ്റൻഡൻസ് എടുക്കും. അപ്പം the army of, his soldiers, the army of jinns, the army of birds, everyone will be ready in front of him. And he would ask them many things. Okay? So let's now go into the story and see what's happening here. Okay. കുറച്ച് slow ആണ് my computer. Please be patient. Just a minute. Okay. 'Okay. 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 ' maybe I'll just stop share and get back in because there is some problem. All right. Okay, so you can see my screen now, le? Now look at this. Okay, these are called ant hills. കാണുന്നില്ലേ? കാണുന്നുണ്ടല്ലോ അല്ലേ? ant hills ആണ്. ant hills എന്ന് പറഞ്ഞാല് ants താമസിക്കുന്ന വീടാണ് നമ്മൾ ant hill എന്ന് പറയുന്നത്. Okay, so you can see here മേളിൽ ഇങ്ങനെ ഹില്ല് പോലെ കാണും. അടിയിൽ പക്ഷേ there are lot of tunnels. Okay, this is how ants build their home. Underneath the ground there'll be lot of tunnels. In each tunnel a different group of ants will be there doing a different duty. So in Surah Naml, in ayat number 18, when Sulaiman Nabi alayhi salam and his army are walking, they come across an ant hill like this. Okay, they walk through the valley of the ants. It's called valley of ants in the Quran. So what we understand is there were a lot of ant hills there. Okay, and then Allah tells us in the Quran, Hatta idha ataw ala wadin naml. Wadin naml means the valley of ants. Qalat namlatun, said an ant, Ya ayyuhan namlu, O ants, udkhulu masakinakum, go enter your homes. La yahtimannakum Sulaiman wa junuduhu, so that Sulaiman and his army does not crush you. Wahum la yash'urun, without knowing. Okay, so if Sulaiman and his army is going to walk, they might crush us. So go away, says the ant is talking here. Okay, so the ant is warning his other friends, O ants, go quickly into your homes so that Sulaiman and his armies do not crush you unknowingly. Okay, right. So let's go to the next and just see. Okay. Camera is not on. Okay, just on that first. Okay, now you can see me also. Right. So now let's go to the next slide and see what's happening here. Slides. Okay, now there's something we need to understand about ants. See, there are three. If you look at a group of ants, in that group, there are three kinds of ants always. Okay, there'll be the queen ant, which is the female ant. She's the only one who can lay eggs. Then there are many male ants. Okay, then there are ants called female worker ants. The female worker ants do a particular duty, the male ants will do a particular duty, and the queen ant will do a particular duty. Okay, so look at this. Every ant colony has one or more queens. Even though the worker ants are female, the queen is the only one who can lay eggs. So basically, there are three groups: queens, males, and workers. Okay, the worker ants are the female ants, but they do not produce any eggs. Only the queen can produce eggs. Okay, you must understand the difference. Now we are going to go and look at certain videos about the ants, because there are certain things we need to understand here. So I'm going to click on the first link, but I'll have to stop share and go to that video and then show it to you. Okay. Okay, let it load. Okay, it's just coming. All right. So right. So let's go and take your video for you and listen to what this person is telling about ants. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
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 Okay.
കേക്കില്ല.
ഇപ്പൊ കേക്കണില്ലേ?
ഇല്ല. ഇല്ല.
കേക്കണില്ലേ? Okay, okay, wait. Let me try again.
കേൾക്കുന്നില്ല.
നമുക്കിത് ശരിയാക്കാം. ഇൻഷാല്ലാ നോക്കട്ടെ. എന്താണ് പ്രശ്നമെന്ന് കണ്ടുപിടിക്കട്ടെ. ഷെയർ സൗണ്ട്. ഓക്കെ. ഓക്കെ, ഇനി കേൾക്കുമായിരിക്കും. കേൾക്കുന്നോ?
When you have a colony of lots of individuals or even a few individuals, obviously you have to communicate and coordinate so you can divide up the jobs. And ants communicate with each other in some of the ways humans do. Many ants have good eyes and can see things, and maybe not so good ears, but they have a very, very good sense of smell. The antennae are basically smell organs. They also touch things and feel things with their antennae. But the antennae on all insects almost are basically their noses. What is smell? Smell is when molecules are floating around in the air and you breathe them in and you can tell what they are. And that's what happens with ants. Molecules float around, they hit receptors on their antennae and they know what that smell means. And then it turns out that ants have lots and lots of different glands for producing different smells. That's a big way that they communicate with one another. They also communicate with one another by touching each other and things like that, but a big way is through smells. So say an ant is in one part of the nest and it's maybe repairing a tunnel or something, and all of a sudden some bad creature enters the nest, like a spider or something, and it wants to invade the nest and eat all the ants. That ant will put out from one of its specialized glands what we call an alarm pheromone. It's basically like a warning smell. And that warning smell radiates out, and another ant smells it, and it runs towards it, and it sees, oh, that's a spider, it's going to take more than 2 of us, and it puts out some. Now there's an even bigger pulse going out, and it's a way of communicating, warning something's happening, come here right now.
Okay, you saw that. Did you see that video?
Yes.
So in this video, the scientist is telling us that ants communicate with each other by giving out a smell. Okay, it's called a pheromone. It may be a big word for you. Maybe you will learn it in your classes. But that's how ants communicate with each other. They give out a strong smell, which will go to the antennae of the other ants. You see these 2 things here on its head? It's called the antennae. Using the antennae, the ant will smell and tell the other ant. So every ant will get a smell of the pheromone, and they will also make the same smell so that all the ants know that there is some danger, and that's how they communicate. This is one way of communication. One way of communication is by giving out a strong smell, which they can understand by using their antennae. This antennae on their head is like our nose. We use our nose to smell everything. Okay? When your mama is cooking nice, tasty biryani, you get a nice smell in your nose, isn't it?
Yes.
Why? Because the smell of the biryani floats like molecules in the air. So with your nose, you are getting that smell. So in this case, ants communicate to each other by producing certain smells. Okay, and using the antennae is like their nose. This is one way of communication. Now let's go and see which are the other ways of communication. Okay, now we need to go to one more video. Let's see.
Very hard.
So we'll go to one more video. Okay, let's see that. You can see the screen, isn't it? Can you see?
Yes. Yes.
Hey, so we've all seen ants. Here's a picture of one somewhere on the screen. It doesn't look like much, right? Alone, a single ant might not feel like something to write home about. Most times she'll be pretty small and she'll be a she. She'll also be fairly vulnerable and non-threatening, but here's the thing. Ants are social insects, and in large numbers they can be a lot of trouble. Ant abilities differ widely from one species to the next, and there are more than 12,000 known species. Again, that's just the ones we know about. They outnumber us 1,000,000 to 1, coordinating massive operations to provide food, shelter, and defense to their colony. As any myrmecologist will tell you, that's the fancy name for ant experts, chief among an ant's superpowers is its ability to communicate. Ants primarily communicate through the release of chemicals called pheromones. Generally, the glands responsible for these pheromones are located in the head, thorax, gaster, and legs. They're usually released from the mandibles, the gaster, and the cuticle. That's the hard outer layer of an ant's body. Ants detect these pheromones using their antenna, and truth be told, they're pretty good at it. So let's say you're at a picnic. You're unwrapping, I don't know, a sandwich or whatever, a roast beef panini, and you see one lone ant. That is a scout that's going to return with a massive wave of coordinated tiny fiends on a mad quest to get your roast beef panini by any means necessary. But here's how the scout hips the rest of her crew to the potential heist. As she's foraging, she's laying down pheromones, kind of like how Hansel and Gretel laid down breadcrumbs in that fairy tale, which was, what's the name of that one? Hansel and Gretel were in it. All right, well, when and if she does find a large source of food, she hightails back to the ant headquarters, releasing more of the pheromone along the way, creating a trail that other ants in her colony can follow. And the better the food source, the stronger this trail. As other foragers arrive to assist, they also lay down pheromones and reinforce the trail. And, like everything with ants, the way they treat these trails really depends on their species. Some species of ants will only follow their own chemical trails, while others will follow anyone. They'll pick up on pheromones from other ant species. Ants also
Okay, bang kodukane ട്ടോ. So we'll just wait. Okay? You can hear me, no?
Yes.
All right. So we'll just wait 2 minutes. Bang kodukane.
Can I drink water?
Yes, yes, please go and drink water.
Can I go to Ashlo?
Yes, please go to the washroom.
Can I drink water?
Yes, please. You may drink water, you may go to the washroom, no problem.
Oh.
Also communicate by touching each other's cuticles and deriving information about each other from hydrocarbons they find there. The different types of cuticular hydrocarbons, and there are a lot, each have their own odor, indicating numerous things about the individual ant, from its home colony to the task it's assigned, like foraging. Ants also communicate through movement, like vibration or touching each other during tandem running, which is interesting enough to be its own episode. Leafcutter ants, for instance, vibrate to indicate things like danger or a particularly tasty leaf. There's one very important distinction we should make here. Ants do not communicate directly. Instead, they use what's called modulatory communication. This means they don't decide consciously to send out a message saying, "Hey, go find some food, my dudettes." And other ants don't think, "Ah, crap, it's hot outside, but all right." The signals that ants send only increase the probability that other ants will change their behavior in response to that stimuli. And as we can see, it is working out pretty well for them. This leads me to a question: who is more successful overall, ants or humans?
Okay. See, so in this video also, he's telling us how ants, they vibrate. Sometimes this is another way of communication. In the first video, we saw how they send out a smell and the ants use the antennae to smell it. In this video, we learned another thing where he tells us that sometimes ants, touch each other and communicate. Sometimes they vibrate and communicate. So these are all different ways by which ants communicate with each other. Okay. Now, why all this is important, we will see. We should know all this, why we should know all this. And in one video, we saw who is a myrmecologist. A myrmecologist is an expert who studies about ants. Okay. A myrmecologist is an expert who studies about ants. So you learn two new words like myrmecologist and pheromones. Ants give out a strong smell in order to communicate. That is called pheromones. Many animals do that. Okay. Then you learned myrmecologist. Myrmecologist is a person who studies about ants. He's an ant expert. Okay. All right. Now, how does an ant grow? Okay, you've seen the chicken and you've seen the egg and how the egg gives you the chicken that grows on to form the hen, etc. Similarly, how does the ant grow? You have the small egg which grows into a larva. Then the larva becomes a pupa. That is, it forms a cover over itself and it stays inside that cover for a long time. And finally, it breaks open that cover and comes out as a new ant. Okay. Ant eggs are very soft, oval, and tiny. We might have seen them. I'm not sure whether you've seen ant eggs. But there is something very interesting. Recently scientists have found that ants actually talk to each other. Okay. Now, do you think that's very interesting or not? Do you know that ants?
Interesting.
Yeah, ants talk to each other. See, a new study finds that young ants make noises to communicate. Okay, so let's see what they are saying. Some species of ants make noises to communicate with each other. Like what? The noise can mean a variety of things. You know what? It is to call for help, or to attract a potential partner, or to share food. Okay, so look at this. Several years ago, researchers began to notice that in certain ant species, okay, now ants, there are so many different species. Okay, in certain ants species, they actually found that the ants made noises to communicate with each other. How did they do that? They have a specialized spike along their abdomen. In their abdomen, they have a specialized spike, and they stroke it with one end of their hind legs. Hind legs means the back legs. So just like how we drag the teeth of a comb, how you comb your hair? The comb has got small teeth. Okay, like how you drag the comb on the edge of a table and make a noise. Like that, the ants use their back legs and they stroke their abdomen. There is some small spikes on their abdomen and they make noises like that. Okay, and this noise, why they did make this noise? They made it in order to call for help. They shout for help when they are being threatened by somebody. So they are calling for help when they are being threatened by somebody. This is what the scientists found. Okay. And they thought that only big ants do that. But no, they found that when the pupae, the eggs grow to the larva and then they mature into the pupa, the plural is called pupae. Okay. And, the thick skin of the pupa, even using the thick skin of the pupa, they make a noise. Okay. So this is the person, Carsten Schonroge, an entomologist. An entomologist is a person who studies insects. So this is another new word for you. You learned about pheromones. You learned about myrmecologist. This is a new word for you. It is entomologist. That means a person who studies insects. Okay. In the UK, in the United Kingdom, he and his colleagues did an experiment where they listened to a group of ants. It's a particular species. This is the name, Myrmica scabrinodes. Okay, that is a little difficult to pronounce. All right, normally this kind of ant is found in northern Europe, in very, watery lands, low-lying lands. The picture is there, peat bogs. They call those lands peat bogs. See, these are peat bogs. Okay, a lot of plants will decay and get deposited in the water, so they are called peat bogs. Okay, using microphones, extra sensitive microphones, they picked up signals. Okay, sound signals. Acoustic means sound. Okay, and they measured the sound produced by 10 different larvae, 6 immature pupae and 6 mature pupae. Okay, and then while the larvae and the immature pupae, that is the small pupae, were completely silent, the bigger pupae produced brief pulses of sound. Okay, and later on, the adults produced a more complex sound. And what were they saying? It was as if they were communicating and it was like an emergency signal. Help. They were saying, help. Hey, I'm over here. Please come and help. It's your friend. It's like that. So they're actually making noises to try and call their friends. Okay. Now, in our Quran, in Surah Naml, we were looking at the story of how Sulaiman alayhi salam, when he was walking with his army in the valley of ants, okay, what is happening there? Sulaiman alayhi salam heard an ant talking to another ant. And what was the ant doing? He was actually giving an emergency signal. He was warning his other friends. He was telling them, go quickly into your homes so that Sulaiman and his armies do not crush you unknowingly. Today, we just saw that scientists have found out that ants actually talk to each other and warn each other when a danger is coming. That is exactly what we saw in this ayat. This ayat was revealed 1400 years ago when scientists didn't even know about ants at that time. Okay, now we also saw that worker ants are the female ants. Okay, the worker ants are the ants which are responsible for collecting the food, for storing the food. They are the ants which build the ant hill. They are the ants which repair the ant hill when it gets damaged. And they are the ants which take care of the newborns and give food for them. So all the work is being done by the female worker ants. You know, the male ants never leave the nest. They're always inside the nest. Only when they want to, reproduce or something, they might just go out and come back. But most of the time, they're inside. So all the ants which are outside doing all the hard work and running around are which ants? It is the female worker ants. Did you understand? Which is the ant which is doing all the work? Tell me.
Female ant.
The female worker ants. Yes, the queen is inside the house. The male ants also are inside the house in a different tunnel. The ants which are running around, collecting the food, storing the food, building the ant hill, repairing it, taking care of the newborns, giving them food, everything is done by the female worker ants. Now look at this ayat once more. Now those of you who know Arabic grammar, look at the words there. Okay. Qalat namlatun. Qalat. We always say qalat for female ant. Namlatun is ta marbuta. We add ta marbuta for a female ant. Okay. So the female worker ant said. Got it? See, the Quran is very exactly using female, the word female there. Now, 1400 years back, when no scientist knew that ants communicate with each other or ants can talk or whether it is female or male, nobody knew all this 1400 years back. But in the Quran, Allah has very clearly told us that it's the female ant which is warning the others to go into their homes. Okay, so this is a very interesting fact. You understand? Do you find it interesting or not?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. So you see, in the Quran, when Sulaiman alayhi salam understood the language of what the ant was talking, he prayed to Allah. You know, he felt very happy and very thankful to Allah because Allah gave him that ability to understand the language of ants. So Sulaiman smiled in amusement at her words again. Okay. فَتَبَسَّمَ ضَاحِكًا مِنْ قَوْلِهَا. Again, her words. Again, Allah is saying female ant here. Again, Allah is saying female ant. Okay. See, 1400 years back, nobody knows that it is female ant and male ant and all that. So, from this ayat, when you study the science behind the life of ants, you understand so clearly that Allah is telling us exactly that it is the female worker ant who is actually talking. And we know science told us that female worker ants are the ones who are always running around. So it matches so well, okay, with what we know today about the life of ants. Anyway, Sulaiman alayhi salam prayed to Allah. He said, എന്താ പറയുന്ന Rabbi ഔസിഇനി an ashkura ni'mataka allati an'amta alayya wa ala walidayya. My Lord, grant me the ability or inspire me to always be thankful to you for all the blessings that you gave me and my parents. So when something good, when you do something good with the blessings that Allah gives you, immediately you should say thank you to Allah. Not only for all the good things He gave you, but also all the good things He gave to your parents. Okay? So Sulaiman alayhi salam is a very great prophet, very powerful king. Still, he prayed to Allah as soon as he heard the language of the ants, and as soon as he understood it, he is praying to Allah. എന്താണ് അള്ളാഹിനോട് പ്രാർത്ഥിച്ചത്? Oh Allah, inspire me or grant me the ability to always say thank you to you for all the favors that you gave me and also for all the blessings that you gave my parents. Then he is asking Allah, oh Allah, help me to do good deeds that please you, and by your mercy, please make me enter into paradise. That is, into the company of your righteous servants. That means all the good people, the prophets and the good believers are the righteous servants. They go into paradise. And Sulaiman alayhi salam is asking Allah to allow him. See, Sulaiman alayhi salam is a prophet. He's a great king. Allah has already blessed him with so many miracles. Still, he is telling thank you to Allah. That's very important. He is not proud. He is still saying thank you to Allah, not only for his blessings, but all the blessings that Allah gave his parents also. So you have to always pray and thank Allah for the blessings that Allah has given you and your parents. And you have to ask Allah to help you to do good deeds. And also you have to ask Allah to help you enter into paradise with all the other righteous people. Understand? Did you understand why
Yes.
his prayer is so important? Okay. So what is the
Yes.
story we looked at today? What is the story we looked at today?
About ants.
Okay. What is the interesting thing we learnt about ants today?
There are philo,
There are 3 types of ants, 3 groups. Yeah. Which are the 3
queen,
groups?
male,
Yes. Yes.
female worker.
Very good. Female worker ant. And what did we learn about how ants communicate with each other?
They give out
They give out a smell which the other ants will. How do they find out
smell
about this?
with
With their antennae. With their antennae, they find out. Then how did they communicate? Then how?
they communicate by talking.
Talking, yes. Yes, they talk to each other. They make noises. Okay. And that's exactly what we find Allah is telling us in our Quran. That the ant was talking to the other ants and warning them of the danger of Sulaiman and his army crushing them. Okay. And we find something very interesting. Which is the ant that does all the work?
Female worker. Female worker.
Female worker ant is the one that does all the work. And in the Quran, Allah has specifically used the word female ant. How do you know that Allah has used the word female ant? How do you know? Ta marbuta is given in that. You say, qalat namlatun. Okay? Qawliha, the words of her, her words. In both the ayat, Allah has used her, which shows it's the female worker ant. So I'll just give you one more video where you can listen to the sounds that ants produce, and then we can stop today's session. Let me just go back there. And okay, just a minute. We'll just listen to that, and then we will come to the end of our session. Just a minute. I'll share it with you all. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
This is only the sounds which they recorded. So just listen to the sounds, okay? Okay, did you hear that? Did you hear the noises?
Yes.
So you heard the noise of the ant eating and the noise of the ants
It's-
talking to each other.
The sound
Yeah.
sounds like rain.
Yeah, sounds like rain. Okay. So we come to the end of our session. So you have learned something new today about ants, isn't it? Okay. So we learned some new words: pheromones, myrmecologist, and entomologist. 3 new words. Okay. So inshallah, you must go to the YouTube and see more videos about ants. So you will understand a lot of things.
Myrmecologists are the people who's expert of ants.
Very good. Yes. Expert of ants. What about entomologist? Are an entomologist? Entomologist is the person who studies about insects. Get on. Okay. Inshallah. Okay. So in YouTube, you must see more videos about ants. So you will learn lots of things about ants like scientists. Okay. How they are very hardworking, how they build perfectly nice tunnels. There are very, very, very interesting videos about ants. You must go to the YouTube and see. Okay. So inshallah, we'll stop today. Our session has come to an end. And thank you so much for joining me today. Okay. Right. ربنا تقبل منا إنك أنت السميع العليم وتب علينا إنك أنت التواب الرحيم. آمين آمين برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. وصلى الله على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
وعليكم السلام.